Before I start, I just want to say that this video might contain some spoilers for pretty much the entirety of the franchise. This video is me just talking about how I feel about the current state of the franchise right now, but I might make some references to maybe some content that happened in the past. So, uh, yeah, this is just your warning, I guess. Enjoy the video. I just want to say, wow, these past 5 years after Force's release has been absolutely crazy. I remember around 2019, it was rumored that Sonic was going to be in an open world game that played like Breath of the Wild. It was hard to believe, honestly. It seemed like such a bold task that wouldn't be able to be executed. I was starting to lose faith with Sega. These past 10 years have been pretty rough for the Blue Blur, but it seems like we were wrong about Frontiers. It's not a perfect game, but it's still pretty good, and it's leading us to the future of what might come in later installments. But for this video, I want to talk about how far we've come after these past 10 years. The meta era.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I think it's safe to say for a lot of Sonic fans, the meta era of games was really rough during the 2010s. It just felt like the entirety of the franchise just became an absolute joke. Characters felt like empty, hollow versions of themselves, the writing and the jokes were absolutely horrendous, and the narratives were weak, lackluster, and just extremely childish. The Sonic series never had the greatest stories, but it has proved time and time again that the franchise is capable of telling stories that have much more depth and serious ones. That made me fall in love with the franchise in the first place. It was stylish, cool, fun, and full of adventure with colorful, unique characters that really make this franchise. The series has never been ashamed of itself until the 2010s. It felt like everything became a parody, like it lost its edge. Everything that gave this franchise its personality that's near and dear to us fans just felt like it was gone. But once 2022 hit, everything changed. 2022 will go down in history.
Hedgehog.
I truly do believe 2022 will go down in history when it comes to being one of the best things to happen to Sonic. Sonic fans are eating good. Earlier this year we had Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie, which was significantly better than the first one. The movie pretty much serves as an origin story for the original trio finally coming together, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. The movie also introduces more elements and lore from the video games, like the Chaos Emeralds, the Echidna Tribe, and even GUN, which is an actual military organization in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe. The movie was no masterpiece, and I definitely had some gripes about certain aspects of it, but it was an absolute blast watching it in theaters with my friends. And there's already a third movie being confirmed, along with Shadow the Hedgehog, who we're still trying to figure out whether or not will actually be the main antagonist of the third movie or if it will be someone else. But it got me screaming off of my seat the first time I saw her. That tease was so hyped. Somewhere down the line, we're also supposed to be getting a brand new Knuckles TV show that is directly tied to the cinematic universe, starring the man Idris Elba himself, who voiced Knuckles in the second movie, and he absolutely killed it. I loved his portrayal of Knuckles in the movie. Now let's talk about what's hot right now, Sonic Frontiers. I am so happy that this game is being well received, not just by critics, but by fans, and even non-fans are really enjoying it too. It's introducing more people into the franchise, and it makes me so happy. The game is just dumb fun. The biggest highlights for me was definitely the combat, the music, and the Titan fights. Don't even get me started on the Titan fights. The first time I heard Undefeatable, I nearly lost it. Frontiers easily has the best Supersonic experience to date, and it's the most hype I've been for a Sonic game in a very long time. The Guardians you encounter in the game are also lots of fun. They have their own unique gimmicks and cinematic set pieces. The music for the game is also fantastic, which is something you can expect from a Sonic game. The beautifully composed, orchestrated music for the open zone, the hard-hitting metal for the Titan fights, and the electronic music for the cyberspace levels, which usually ranges from EDM, drum and bass, and even dubstep. It's a euphoric bliss in my ears that just sounds like angels singing. I also found the story for Frontiers to be pretty emotionally engaging thanks to Ian Flynn, who's a well-respected writer for the comic series. He provides the dialogue for the characters. You can really tell how much these characters mean to him, and it shows. I really enjoyed the interactions in this game. They were so heartfelt and full of chemistry. You can tell how much Sonic cares for his friends and how much they impact Sonic's world. It just felt like for the longest time Sonic's friends just didn't matter. These past 10 years, we just haven't really seen much of them, and they didn't really do a whole lot in the games. In Frontiers, there was a lot of callbacks to previous events that happened in past Sonic games. And there was also an amazing animated short that served as a prequel and shows us the events that happened before Frontiers, starring the one and only Knuckles himself, who is finally going back to his roots and being a total badass instead of making him a complete idiot like how the meta era portrayed him. Even though I did enjoy my time with Frontiers, it was by no means a perfect game. The cyberspace levels, while not being terrible, they were the weakest part of the game, and I did feel like that the ending was a bit rushed, and that final boss was pretty disappointing, not gonna lie. There also wasn't much replay value after you beat the game, but as of recently, it has been announced that we'll be receiving 3 updates. Update 1 will include a jukebox, photo mode, and a challenge mode. Update 2 will include Sonic's birthday, open zone challenges, and new Coco. And Update 3, the one that everyone is the most hyped for, new playable characters and a new story. All of this downloadable content being free. This is crazy. I can't remember the last time we were able to play as Sonic's friends. It's been too long. Again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It makes me so happy that Sonic's supporting cast of characters actually matters again, and I'm glad that we're getting an extended story. Hopefully the new update fleshes some things out, because the ending for Frontiers was rather lackluster and a little unsatisfying. I'm at least grateful that the game is at least still a decent time. I remember back when this game first got revealed in June, and we saw that IGN footage for the first time. It pretty much opened the gates to hell and every Sonic fan was outraged, and it was just more content for non-Sonic fans to just poke fun at the franchise. It was not a good time. The game looked very bland and unfinished. Animations were clunky and it didn't look like it was running very well. Sonic looked like he controlled terribly, and it looked like it was very stiff and hard for him to maneuver, just like forces, and it just didn't look good. It didn't help that the game was also super secretive by Sega either, so we just didn't really understand the actual concept of this game. The marketing for this game was absolutely terrible, and it was barely promoted. But here we are, the game is finally out, and the marketing is actually improved since. And they're definitely trying to cater to a much wider audience, and I think that's a pretty good call on Sega. But yeah, I can't wait for the extra content to drop, and I'll probably review them once the time comes. And finally, we have one more big piece of media coming out this year, and that's the brand new animated series coming to Netflix, Sonic Prime. The show is scheduled to release on December 15th, which is 5 days from now, and I'm pretty stoked for it. The animation is really neat, the characters are very expressive and bouncy, and I love the use of squash and stretch. The action and the cinematic set pieces look really well done. And it is another multiverse type of story. It just seems like we'll be traveling through different worlds and seeing different versions of characters and alternate realities, and it looks like a lot of fun. The show definitely seems like that it's aimed towards a much younger audience, but regardless, Sonic fans, including myself, are still gonna eat this up, so I'm still curious on how everything will play out. But I have faith that this show will deliver. It's being produced by Wallbrain Studios and Man of Action. And if you don't know who Man of Action is, they're the studio that brought you the original Ben 10 series and Generator Rex, which is a pretty underrated show and you should go watch it like right now. It's really exciting that we're finally getting another ambitious story-based Sonic show. The last Sonic show we had was the Sonic Boom show, and it was completely harmless. There was nothing wrong with it, but it was just a simple Saturday morning cartoon. It was more of a slice of life that focused a lot more on humor. The last Sonic show that had a continuous storyline was Sonic X, and that first aired 19 years ago. It's almost been 2 decades and we're finally getting another action-packed Sonic show with its own continuity and storyline. And honestly, I think Sonic Prime, from what I've seen so far, might end up besting Sonic X. Don't get me wrong, Sonic X is very nostalgic, but I don't think that show is perfect, and there's a lot of aspects about it that I don't think hold up super well for today's standards. But that's just my opinion personally. But nonetheless, this show has my interest. I am going to be checking it out, and I hope I really enjoy it. A new era.
Future.
It truly does look like we're in a new era. We've gotten so much content from the little blue blur, and there is still so much to look forward to. It feels like Sega truly cares about Sonic again. There's still so much more on the horizon. I'm hoping Sega will stick to their guns and push through. It's very clear they want Sonic to be bigger than ever when it comes to brand recognition and all the media he's been showing up in lately. In regards to the games, it's also been confirmed that they want Sonic to be a big AAA title once more. I hope they evolve this brand new open zone style of gameplay. I also can't wait for the new Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie that's supposedly coming around 2024. I'll probably review Sonic Prime once I get the chance eventually. It's honestly a miracle Sonic as a brand is still popular to this day. After all these flops and all these disappointments, it's very clear the character is still near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. And for the first time that felt like forever, it seems like Sega is finally seeing that. I'm not too sure what will happen these next 10 years that Sega has planned for us, but I'm positive. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. So far, the future's looking pretty bright.